Hey everybody, this is Mark from North Star Aero, and we're doing a little bit something a little bit different on this video. I'm actually doing voiceover on a night landing video that we shot. We had an external mount camera, and we actually did this just outside of Houston. So what I'm going to do on this video is kind of walk you through some tips on night landings. I'll show you a couple normal night landings, a landing without the landing light, and we'll kind of walk through and just go over some tips and some good helpful things that that I teach people and that I've found helpful over the years to help people land at night. As you can see, or as you know, it can be challenging at night for a multitude of reasons. But the big thing is you don't have depth perception like you do during the day. So there's some simple things that we can do to kind of alleviate that issue. One of the big things that we always want to be careful of at night is cutting the power quickly and letting the airplane kind of sink to the runway. We can get away with it in the daytime because we can judge the distance in the flare. We have trouble with that at night though because we don't have that depth perception. We have a little bit with the runway lights, but not a whole lot. So you can see as we're approaching the runway here, this is just kind of a general, I'll just show you a landing here. And you can see it's a pretty decent landing. Mains touch, the nose wheel touches. It's a fairly flat landing, but it's nice and safe, and you can't ask for much better. This aircraft is actually equipped with the boom beams as well from Lopresti, and you can see just how bright they are. And you can see they're still shining on the runway even when we're above it. So, all right. So one of the things when we come in and approach the runway, what I do is I pick, say, the third center line or the third white light on the outside as my aiming point. Here we're approaching the runway. As we approach the runway, I kind of think of it as a soft field landing. So instead of just chopping the power and then flaring, what I like to do is slowly reduce the power, bring the airplane to a level attitude, and then slowly add back pressure and kind of hold it off like you would a soft field landing. What that allows you to do is if you make a mistake on judging the distance above the ground, the airplane's just going to kind of float above the ground. You keep adding a little back pressure to hold it off. If you get to the point where you feel like you have a pretty good flare attitude and the airplane still hasn't touched down, what I like to do at that point is to go ahead and add back just a touch of power to soften that descent rate. So this one you can see we're coming around. We don't have a landing light on. So this is even more important to make sure you are very subtle about the power reduction and holding the airplane off. We like to practice this because the landing light is an electrical problem that you could have pretty easily. The G1s and G2s only have one. The G3s and G5s obviously have the tip lights and the nose light. But on the older birds, you only have the one light, and I've had it fail quite a few times over the years. So you can see you're picking your landing spot, and I always use, say, the third light on the outside. So you'll kind of make a, kind of imaginary threshold with the third light. Keep approaching it. So at this point, I'm starting to slowly reduce the power, but I'm leaving just a touch in. So here we go, slowly walking the power out, leveling the airplane, holding it off. And at this point, you really can't tell when you're going to touch until you actually touch. So it's important just to level the airplane and slowly reduce that power so you can set it down nice and smooth. So we flip the landing light back on. We're taking off. We're going to come around for another one. So these were just touch and goes. And as you know, if you're doing it for currency, you need to do full stops. But we were just doing this for practice. So here's another one coming in, landing light. It's very important to be stable on the approach. You can notice on all these approaches that we're very stable on final. We're not dipping up and down. You can tell the airplane speed isn't changing much. So right here we're reducing the power, leveling the airplane, and just waiting on those mains to touch, just like if you were doing a soft field landing. So the mains touch, the nose wheel touches, and you're good to go. So as you probably know as well, as far as queuing up the runway lights, this was actually at a towered field, but if you're at an untowered field, 7, 5, and 3 clicks to key the lights up. And you can set the different brightnesses. A lot of people, when they first start flying, like to put it on 7, which is the brightest setting. What you'll find is more beneficial is actually if you turn the lights down to say 3 or 5, you're actually going to find it more beneficial because it's not so bright when you're coming in. And it actually makes it a little bit easier. So usually I'll start out high to find the runway and then tune them down after that. So here we're approaching again. Once again, you can see how stable we are in final. That's really the key to night landings. Is you want to have a nice, stable visual glide path. What I mean by that is you want to pick your landing point and you want to be tracking to it. So think, if you're shooting an approach, if you're an instrument pilot, you think from the final approach fix to the touchdown point. It's basically a straight line. You know, it's a glide slope. Say you're doing an ILS, it's a glide slope that you follow in. You can do the same thing visually with a regular approach and landing just by picking an aiming point. So, in the daytime we might pick the end of the threshold. In this case I'm talking about the third white light on the outside, third runway light, and just keeping that one spot in the windscreen. And visually that's going to allow you to have, basically a visual glide slope. So what that allows you to do is have a really, really stable approach. You're not jumping up and down as you're coming in, which makes everything a lot more stable. So hopefully this video was helpful. If you have any questions, please post them below. This last little part here is, I actually have no idea what it is. We just saw it when we were flying to another airport. It's actually something that's burning on the ground. And it looked like it was at a refinery or something. And I must say that this is the brightest. We were at about 3,500 feet above the ground here, and this is by far the brightest thing I have ever seen on the ground. You couldn't even look towards it. It was so bright. So I had to post it on the video. Maybe somebody knows what it is. Like I said, this is just outside of Houston, but I have no idea what it is. But it was something on fire. It was actual fire, not a light. But couldn't tell you what it was. But you can see by the way the airplane looks, it definitely lit it up. So. Anyway, I hope this video was helpful, and thanks again, guys. Fly safe.